Hey, I gave Kevin all my information, so does it?
You're good. We're live. We're live. We're live. Yeah, we're good. We're on your Twitter. We figured that out. Yeah. The power of Vic Lombardi's Twitter has now been engaged. Look at your Twitter. See, we're live.
Oh, yeah.
Check it out.
It's on.
Yeah. Pretty damn cool. Here's Sanford, too. Sanford was a superstar today out there at Broncos camp.
God, he's just a workaholic. He's worse than you.
Do you want to just get to like where Sanford was just trying to steal the show at the press conferences today and just sort of
were you asking all the questions, Michael?
Dude, it was pretty funny today.
Vic, I don't know if I've told you this, but I don't have a lot of just natural anxiety. The one thing that I am just mortified of is being on the other side of the podium at a press conference.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's so funny you say that because I'm the opposite. I get more anxious when I'm being interviewed by people. When I'm being interviewed by people, I'm like, I don't even know what to say here. But when I'm asking the questions, you're sort of in control. It's a completely different method.
I just want to let you guys know I'm pretty awesome at both. So
I think you absolutely suck at answering them, just to be real honest.
Hell no. I love talking about myself. Are you kidding me? I've always thought that in sports, like the thing that I laugh at the most is athletes not wanting to be interviewed. I'd be like, you can interview me every day. It'd be awesome. People are just asking questions about me.
Sorry, I have a squirrel moment. Vic, as a quick aside, I've heard some of your rants about pickleball versus basketball.
Yeah.
What do you notice right there in my backdrop of my home? You see anything back there?
Oh, yeah. You have a full court basketball going. Yeah. That's good for you, man.
Yeah.
You don't mess around.
There absolutely will never be a pickleball net in the same household. I promise you.
Well, my own brother, my blood, built a basketball court in his backyard and spent a lot of money doing so. And they've now since turned it into a pickleball court. Mm-hmm. So I have he's no longer part of the family. I don't talk to him anymore.
Did you whack him? Did you have your people whack him or no?
Did you whack him?
We don't talk to him. We don't talk to him. He's not invited to the baptisms, confirmations, none of that. He's done.
Okay. All right, let's hear Mike Sanford asking questions. We got actually a couple of them here today. So we'll get to Bo Nix and all that stuff in a little bit. But here's what Coach needed to know today from Sean
Coach,
Payton.
Your first look at live reps and kickoff cover, the new rule. What did you make of the body type of personnel, the returner?
Yeah, I still think speed's going to be key because that happens quick. You know, getting into the hole happens quick. I'd say the backside pursuit, we were talking, Ben and Mike and Chris, the backside angles happen fast. And now we're in preseason, so I'm sure there's some schemes that teams are holding, you know, or not necessarily showing. But I think catching that kickoff, and we saw a lot of conventional, then we saw a handful of 5 irons, but in the conventional kick, catching that with a forward body lean, different than catching a punt. But when you're catching a kickoff, man, you can't be catching it with the back foot planted. You've got to catch it with that forward body lean so you can get into that return. I think these holes and these openings, they're like, and so you got to get into them fast. You're still going to be looking at speed. And then you're going to be looking at IQ, and we saw the Kansas City game. You know, and I think there was a lot of question as to what that rule was, and it ended up being a safety. So the IQ and the speed, those are going to be important.
Man, he was yappy today.
I'll tell you what, dude. It was a provocative question. He got rolling.
He loves it.
He was all about it.
I think this is another example where coaches, and I don't blame coaches for this because they're paid to coach, they're paid to teach, they're paid to analyze.
They love it.
I think you're over-analyzing this a little bit because when I see that kickoff, when I see it, it's find a crevice and go. It's not that complicated. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, catch the ball, find an opening, and explode through that opening. I don't understand all the other nuances that are required for a returner. It comes down to, can you find a hole in the defense to get through? And once you get through it, take it to the house. Hey, the one thing about these kickoffs, I got to ask you, Coach, are you willing as a coach, as a special team coordinator, do you want to show what you can do on kickoff return in the preseason? Do you really want to give that up? So it's
No,
all basic right now. They're not
Yeah.
showing anything.
Basic
It's
zone
like everything
blocking,
else.
yeah.
It's like everything else. I mean, the gentleman's agreement, which may or may not have been broken in preseason game 1 by the Broncos with the Colts, is that you're going to run 2-3 coverages. And it's essentially like the Senior Bowl. I mean, that's how preseason should be, is the Senior Bowl. They install basic concepts and let players play so they can evaluate them.
Hey, meanwhile, I'll get to the Kay Adams stuff in a second, which was pretty funny. Kay Adams kind of called out Coach Payton, which was a riot. But I think that example, there was another back and forth that went like for 4 minutes about, I don't know, some nuances of coaching that he really wanted to get into. This dude loves to talk about Vic, and he loves to talk about strategy. I know what it was. It was the 500 different options that could happen in a 2-minute drill. There's he goes 500 options of what to do. And he goes, basically, you have to understand, what you need to accomplish before you set out to try to do whatever you do. But he literally said there were 500 options, Coach. Does that ring a bell? The 500 options?
In the context of the question that was asked of him was getting, for the chance to have Bo Nix get into 2-minute drives twice. It was Lucas Krull first out and then the fumble. But then he led a drive, and he even talked about that 8-second decision. And he made the decision he would make in a game situation, which is you want points before half, period.
Yeah.
You get sacked there with no timeouts,
right?
Or you get an intentional grounding, or
don't get greedy.
Yeah,
don't get greedy before the half.
And I loved it. I'm like,
I do too.
You know what that did? It trained Bo Nix to understand what's at stake, and he used the term, this wasn't a gotta situation. Like, gotta have it.
Right.
It was a points are at a premium, period. It's not a gotta have touchdown scenario. And then he talked about explaining, even in the 2-minute scenarios that they practice offense versus defense, explain who has the advantage in this situation. Is this a defensive advantage on the -30, one timeout, 47 seconds to go? Well, the defense is going to call their particular schemes based off of being at the advantage. And then conversely, he talked about a situation where you're on the 40 some odd yard line. And frankly, you just need about 18 yards to kick a field goal from the -40. And, he talked about that being an offensive advantage situation. So you call it differently.
Vic, do you like that? Or is that just too oh my God, give me a break.
I mean, listen, I think one thing I've noticed watching the Broncos in this preseason so far is they have made an obvious push to be better in the red area with their personnel, with their play calling, with their approach. You know what happened last year? They moved the ball within the 20s. 20-20, they moved the ball. They got into the red area last year and disaster struck. We saw it many times. So I think this year the focus, and we've seen it so far in the preseason, even with the players they brought in, the focus so far has been, how do we get points in that red area? Because that's really all that matters. Nobody gives a crap if you get there. What matters is if you get over the goal line or through the uprights. That's what matters. You got to get points.
Yeah, you think about this draft, right? Yeah. The draft itself, not just the schematics and what they're focusing on in practice. Because yes, Sean Payton has spent more time in the red area that you talked about than I've seen it at a training camp, and it's been awesome. They drafted the best red zone quarterback in the draft class, by far the best one at the Senior Bowl. I was down there and watched it. That's where he caught my eye that day. I was like, all right. And then went out and got a big receiver that makes acrobatic catches, so you can't double team Cortland Sutton. You got Devon Bailey opposite him. Found him in the draft. You went out and got a bruiser at running back that proved already in preseason he can be a goal to go, push the pile. And he did. He did it on a 1 yard to go, and then the goal line. It was great to see it all show up.
All right, let's. I'll get to the Kay Adams stuff in a second, but let's have some fun with Coach Sanford. So, if folks don't know, Mike Sanford coached Mike McGlinchey at Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, I do. And I take great offense when people call him McFlinchy, because I freaking love that man.
I know it's a little awkward. So I'm a little confused. You've been out there a million times. He hasn't seen you out at training camp yet? You haven't run into him?
DMac, you got to understand what I've been doing for the first 2.5, 3 weeks. I've been hiding, because the worst thing that could ever happen.
Why?
When you're a coach, the worst thing that you could ever admit is that you're going into media.
Yeah.
So I've been hanging out in the tent, kind of creeping
on
around.
Purpose.
Yeah. No,
So even though you've got this deep personal relationship with McGlinchey, you've been avoiding him at the same time.
No, I mean, you've been out there enough. I mean, unless you're one of the real muggles.
Time out. Does he know you even lived in Colorado? Does he know you're here?
He knew I was at CU. Yeah, he knew I was at CU.
But DMac, you've been to camp. Those players, they don't even see us, man.
They don't see us.
I mean, at what point do they come across you?
I get it, but these guys. One of these players didn't hold up my little child when my child was born, and I coached him. I mean, I would have been over there the first day saying hi to him. It's a guy you know. But you've been hiding from this guy. You've got a deep personal relationship. He didn't really know you've been there. And what, you just show up today out of the blue? You're just standing there, and he didn't know it ahead of time? You're just there?
Oh, yeah. Well, I haven't been in any of the scrums, and we all know that, as you know, your boy Columbus calls him Mayor McGlinchey. He's always up in front of the media. I haven't been. That was my first scrum I've been to since OTAs.
Think about how funny this is. This guy has no clue Mike's there at all. And then this moment happens. It's pretty funny.
Little one arriving in the middle of the camp. Did it get you out of the team hotel a little early? And how are things going there?
It did. My wife and I have, battling no sleep and all that kind of stuff. But it's been a lot of fun. He's great. My son Tripp has been awesome in the last 9 days since we've had him. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good.
And he's, it's been awesome. We're doing a great job. My wife has been an absolute rock star.
He's talking about the birth of his first kid, and there's McGlinchey with your kid.
That's at Parisi's in South Bend, Vic.
That's crazy.
Yes, we did it. We had a team lunch there during training camp.
That is such a funny reaction.
Listen, no matter what you do now, you're part of the ink-stained wretches that we are in the media. No matter what, he will always regard you as coach, no matter what. That's the beauty of your craft, right? You're going to be coach. So it's okay. Give up the secret to him. Tell him that you're on the dark side. Just let him know that you're naked like the rest of us, and this is what you're doing now. It's okay. Admit it.
It was a hysterical reaction. It's just he's talking seriously about his coach. Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing? What's going on, man?
It was good that I had a chance to talk to him after the presser.
Oh, I got that too. I call it McGlinchey bros it up with coach. So we'll get there. Do you want to just get to the bro it up before we get to your question?
Yeah, I want to see bro it up. Coach,
all right,
yeah,
here's the bro it up when it's done. You gotta listen a little carefully, but you'll get it.
All right, Mike, thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Everything good?
Yeah, really good.
Can you hear that? The big slap, the big
the big dap. Yeah, the dap hug.
I'll listen for the slap.
Mike, thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Everything good?
Yeah, really good.
Good slap.
That was strong. He's got
some big meat hooks now. He's got some big old hands, so it worked out pretty well.
So they had that. What's up? What's he got? I'm doing good. Got fire and shit.
Great.
Doing awesome.
Great. I'm making peanuts with DMac and Vic. It's awesome.
I'm asking you a question. A guy who's trying to kiss my ass as a coach. Now I got to ask you a question. Freaking great.
I'm not making shit in the media. It's great.
Right. You're making $19 million a year to jump freaking not offsides, and false starts. I mean, it's amazing what's going on. My life is awesome.
I was able to tell Glinch because he talked at the presser. I think in that question was about we call him Glinch, not Flinch there, DMac. All right.
Sure, of course.
Put some respect on his Irish name, right?
I should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he talked about it. They haven't gotten any sleep. I said, hey, listen, Anne-Marie Sanford is an expert with sleep training. Have your wife call my wife, and you will have a sleeping child through the night within a month. I promise you.
Well, so now he knows. Now he knows. Listen, it's the trail of tears of Coach Sanford's life. There's McGlinchey. There's David Shaw. I don't know if there's a high school kid who's making more money than you now.
Come Friday, he's going to have his treat.
His
he's
boo.
going to Jordan Love show up.
Oh yeah, the boo of all boos is going to be
about
there.
It.
Oh my God!
I mean, you are Yoda to that man. That man's going to show up and just like bow at your altar, my friend.
I don't think so. He was pretty good before me.
Where are you gonna like on Friday? By the way, we got cleared today. I found out to do our show the entire 3 hours from the 10. So last day, they're gonna let us just be there the whole time. So I get to be there for the whole time, which is cool. So the way they do this, Mike, FYI, the Broncos do the stuff where they do. The Packers will go do their media in the field house. They'll use the field house for their locker room stuff. So all their media will go over there.
Where am I going to be, DMac?
Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be, man?
Oh, man. Hey, my feet are going to tell where my loyalties lie. There's no doubt about it.
Did you recruit Jordan Love in high school?
No. So I got there before the year leading up to him being drafted, I coached him. So his draft year. So I was just there with 1 year with him. But I think it was, I had just been fired as a head coach at Western Kentucky. And just even in 2 years, the thing I missed the most about coaching football while I was a head coach was coaching football. I missed like being with a position group. And so I leaned into that position group. So it was such a tight knit group. We had Jordan and Andrew Peasley, who's playing for the Jets now, played at Wyoming last year. We had that Henry Colombi. We had these guys at our house like almost every week. And my wife just loved just being the Italian grandma to all those boys. And
that's awesome.
It was a really special time.
All right, let me play your question to McGlinchey, and then we'll move on to Kay Adams here in a second.
No, he certainly is. He's been great. He's been unbelievable at working and understanding his role and his playbook, and that's why he's going to continue to get opportunities. Coach Sanford.
Congrats on trip.
Thank you.
Congrats on life.
Thank you.
Seeing you.
Yeah.
Hey, I know how much pride you personally take in the unit, the offensive line unit, having 4 or 5 returning starters back together. What do you guys think you could be? I mean, can you be a team that this fully relies upon to win football games when counted on?
I think that's what we're hoping for, and that's certainly the goal. I think we're on the right track. Obviously, we've played a lot of football together, and we certainly have guys that are very experienced as we've continued to go through this. And I think our talent level is really high. It's just that matter of continuing to work together to believe and certainly take control of this football team. I think that's something that we believe in, upstairs believes in, that a culture and a team should permeate through the offensive line. And we take a lot of pride in that. It starts with your individual job first, and you got to be the best at what you do and confident in what you do. And like every other position, you just keep growing with the reps, and that confidence comes. And I think we've had a lot of success together, and we're going to hopefully continue to build on that.
Mike, last one, Mike.
Hey, Vic, have you ever noticed that whenever like a coach like Mike or the players ask other players questions, and you think it's going to be so amazing and they have so much insight, they ask the same boring shit that everybody else asks. It's never anything that interesting. Have you ever noticed that, Vic?
I mean, how much can you really ask, right? Because
I don't know.
Because coaches understand, like Coach Sanford understands, you can't go over the line. You can't ask a question that's going to reveal too much, right? Yeah. You're really not going to ask that. You're not going to put him in that position. So you're going to ask technically softball questions no matter what. But I loved his answer. And here's how I see the Broncos. The Broncos are, when you look at them, when you look at the field and you say, I mean, there are really no superstars here. There's no electrifying player. There's nobody that says, I got to keep my eye on this dude. But their trenches are pretty solid. And that's why this team, I think this year, they're going to be one of these try-hard teams that they're going to be in games. They're going to be a threat to win games because I think the trenches will be solid enough to give them a chance in those games. And that's really the way you got to build this thing, because they don't have guys on the outside. They don't have the skill positions that can. You're not going to compete with the Chiefs. Are you kidding me? You're not going to compete with a lot of these teams. But if you build from the inside out, it gives you something, and that's what they are.
Yeah, I really was leading him down that path, Vic, because I didn't say, hey, your skill position players have no superstars, but yeah, I mean, I alluded to it. The thing I thought that was insightful about his question was, or about his answer to the question, was the fact that he said that it's the upstairs believes in it. The ownership group, the scouting department, the coaches, that the offensive line is where your culture should start, and then it permeates throughout the team. And I've seen that in this training camp. I think it's a real thing.
I've got a fun quote from the CSU quarterback that I'll get you here in a little bit. Gave a fascinating answer why he doesn't need money. Hang on for that one in a little bit. But Kay Adams was here for her what seems to be a yearly visit. And Vic, I don't know if you've got a previous relationship with Kay. I've just casually met her. Seems really nice.
Yeah, we were married for 10 years. It was a great relationship.
Oh man.
Oh, that's great.
I knew it. I just knew you guys were married. I knew it.
Good. That's good.
I mean,
Terry,
don't tell my wife, but
I was gonna say, did Terry know? No, maybe?
No,
not never suspicious. You know,
no.
Just another trip to Italy. Yeah. All right, here we go with Kay Adams and Coach Payton, and they are absolutely. You can tell they got a close relationship because she kind of calls him on his BS, which is kind of fun to see. Nobody in the local media would get away with this.
A bit of the jig is up, though, Coach. Like it's like we know he's the guy.
First question is the jig is up. That is, I got to give her credit, man. That is, Vic, come on, man. You've asked a million questions. That's a great way to get into a question. The jig is up.
If one of us tried to ask that question,
the jig is up.
What would the response be if we asked that question?
No. That's what he would have said.
It would make his response to Cecil look tame if any of us said, hey, Coach, the jig is up.
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow you could come out and say, hey, Coach, Kay Adams said the jig is up. Do you agree? I mean, that'd be kind of funny if somebody wanted to ask that. All right, let me play the rest of it.
A bit of the jig is up, though, Coach. Like it's like we know he's the guy. Why not hand him the keys like Chicago did with Caleb?
Still playing.
What do you mean?
They have one more song.
What are you waiting for? So you're waiting to see what this next preseason game is?
This next game will be important.
Why does he have to earn it? What is the problem with just naming it? Like what?
I think it's important to the team that they see. Right. In other words, I'm not naming the starting cornerback between Riley and Mathis. Meaning, I'm not doing that with these other positions at receiver, and so it would be different if you just done it had made a decision with one position, and I'm not ready to do it with all the positions. So, look, he's playing well. He now there are a few things in the game that we got to clean up, and I'm encouraged with how he's playing, just as I am with Stiddy and Zach. But I think there is a process to it, and we discussed this back in minicamp when we saw the Bears named Caleb their starter in the spring. And
no veteran. They didn't bring anybody in.
Yeah, and I understand that. But philosophically, we were going to be different, and we were just going to the timeline is just going to be different. But we're getting close. If you come back in the next week or two, I think it might time up.
Vic, what do you
invitation?
Oh yeah, come back anytime you want, Kay. By the way,
we'll take it anytime.
It just shows me that he's not an entitlement type of coach. He wants guys to prove their worth, and at every position, really, no matter who you are. Hell, even if Peyton Manning were here, he'd probably have a sense. Peyton's he's got to pick it up a little bit. That's just the kind of style he coaches. He exudes, so that's fine. But I think he hinted there, and he pretty much sold it. Come back in a couple of weeks. I mean, that pretty much tells you the story, right? It's over. I mean. Yeah, a couple of weeks to make it official, but I don't think we need to see a couple of weeks. We've seen enough already.
I'm rolling my eyes because unless you're, Stevie Wonder out of practice, you understand what the deal is. But that being said, Coach, there's got to be a decision made with Stidham and Wilson, which isn't easy. And it's funny because not funny because I feel bad that J.J. McCarthy's out for the year. But, stuff happens, right? And maybe teams want him. Although they had 4 quarterbacks in Minnesota, and Nick Mullins is out there. So maybe that's, fine for a backup quarterback for them, and Darnold will be the guy. But I don't know, man. It is a competition, I think, and a tough decision between Stidham and Wilson. You could go either way there.
You really could. Did you see the Cortland Sutton interview with Kay Adams today?
No. Did not. No.
Yeah, I would watch that. There's some tea leaves in there now. One thing that, Kay Adams was leaning into Cortland Sutton on, hey, she even said, she's like, yeah, your coach came back with a very Bill Parcells-like answer. I guess this competition is going to keep going on. Almost pretty funny. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And then asked him, what have you seen from Bo Nix? And he's very complimentary of Bo, but he said he's growing, he's learning, he's developing like a rookie. And then he the first quarterback out of his mouth next was Zach. he mentioned Zach right after him, and then he did kind of caught himself and said Stiddy right thereafter. And
interesting.
I know we, at times we as stalkers in the media try to look for anything that we could find. I found it interesting. One of the first few training camp practices that I went to, man, Zach Wilson and Cortland had their own very intricate handshake together. I'm like, all right, they've been working together. There's something there. There's some chemistry because I think Cortland Sutton sees that dude he can spin the rock down the field now. And so I think that was an interesting takeaway from the Cortland Sutton and PS2 interview.
Vic, where would you go with that in that decision? What would you do?
That's a tough one for me because they've got to determine here in a month whether or not Zach Wilson understands the Peyton offense enough to where Peyton has trust in him. Can he rewire his brain? And I've heard Coach Sanford mention that, he spent time with the Jets with all those different coaches, all those different schemes. I mean, his brain is probably muddled right now. It's just like, what am I doing? And so if Sean Payton can rewire that to the point where he trusts him, I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's right there in front of you. The guy's got all the talent in the world, but can he get him on the field to execute the offense the way Sean Payton wants? If he gets him to that level, you got your two quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think step one was the first preseason game, and I'd give a remarkable check yes to that question. I think there'll be two more quizzes, if you will, in the next two preseason games, because we know that Zach Wilson will end up probably taking a lion's share of the second half reps. Certainly in the third preseason game, he might play a ton. Depends on how much he does play Bo Nix. I do think about this question. I want to ask both of you guys this. Zach Wilson out there on the field, I mean, he looks pretty nice throwing that football around.
Mm-hmm.
And with the franchise being in the hands of Bo Nix for the foreseeable future, do you want to keep that shiny object around? Because what if it doesn't work out great?
Yeah.
Because frankly, Jarrett Stidham, guys, is not a shiny object. He's a really, really good NFL backup.
Yeah. Jarrett Stidham is a reliable vehicle that you can drive and it's going to hold up and you're not going to have to change the tires. But Zach Wilson is a sports car that you got to pay for more insurance. It's going to cost you a little more, but when it hums, it hums. Here's the question I have, though. If you keep three quarterbacks, are you doing yourself a disservice? Is there anything on the open market? Is there any value with any of these quarterbacks as training camps progress and other guys go down? Can you get anything of value, and who would provide the value? Is Jarrett Stidham even going to provide value? Let's say there's a team out there. Would anybody trade for Jarrett Stidham?
He'd be a hell of a lot better than Easton Stick in the Chargers. I don't know if you watched that preseason game. It was as bad as you could ever imagine. And frankly, he's already had a chance to play on. I don't understand how that guy has a job, to be really honest.
Well, they did trade for Zach Wilson, and we know that it took a long time to put that trade together. And because don't forget, when they acquired Zach Wilson, it was like, why aren't the Broncos doing anything? And there was something like 32 quarterbacks were signed before Zach Wilson came to the Broncos. Well, he got signed the trade went down like a week before the draft. And we're like, wow, that timing's weird. Well, it was weird. Why? Because they've been working on it for 6 weeks and they couldn't get it done. They got Zach Wilson in the 7th for a 6th. So they did get something else besides Zach Wilson. They got a 7th round pick and they gave up a 6th. So if you could get a 7th round pick for Jarrett Stidham, it'd be kind of a wash for Zach Wilson. And don't forget where Vele came to the Broncos, 7th round. So I think there might be somebody out there. I think it's worth it to see if you can get a steady Eddie there. I don't know what all the backup quarterback positions are, but here's the problem, man. We're talking about a backup quarterback. This is Jarrett Stidham, guys. He just can't make magic happen. He's good, though. He's good. He's solid. He's a nice dude. But there's nothing special about him. And you know what you need for a backup quarterback? Unless you've got a spectacular defense. I mean, spectacular. You need somebody who can make some magic happen, possibly if you put him in there. And I'd say Wilson has that and Stidham doesn't. So to me, this is not a difficult choice whatsoever, and I don't think you need to carry 3. That's my 2 cents.
Well, I agree. I think the coach and a lot of people will probably hang on to that one game that Jarrett Stidham produced against the San Francisco 49ers. You remember that game?
Yeah.
He looked pretty damn good. I'm sorry?
Is it Raiders or Patriots?
I think he was with the Raiders. He was with the Raiders that game.
Raiders.
Yeah, and he played really well. Looked really good in that game. And they said, like, whoa. But I don't know, man. When I watch him play, I see just a lot of check down stuff. I don't see anything dynamic there. I don't. And when I see Zach Wilson play, I see a guy that I'm never going to compare him to Aaron Rodgers, but he looks so athletic and natural with the position. He looks natural. And that's something you can't buy. You can't buy natural talent, and that's what he has.
He reminded me on that boot roll, which he executed flawlessly, of like Jake Plummer. And it was a throwback to the way Shanny used to run his offense. So I've seen enough, man. And, happy Mother's Day. I'd go with Zach Wilson, and I just move on from Stiddy. If you get something for him, fine. By the way, if you do deal and just cut him, you save yourself $3 million because it's cash, not cap. Cap hit is a cap hit. But the Broncos would save themselves more than $3 million in cash if they just go with Zach Wilson over Stidham. There's that, too, for whatever $3 million means to billionaires.
It was interesting at the presser today. Sean Payton was asked 2 different times, but not by me, by somebody else about the Zach Wilson performance in the preseason game and then also training camp. The first time he talked about all 3 quarterbacks, and the second time, I can't remember, it was a follow-up question, very specific about Zach Wilson.
Well, I got it right here, brother. Let's go.
And look, the focus on Bo, understandably so, is when you draft a quarterback in the first round. Like, every one of us recognizes the significance of getting that position settled and having that position who we feel like we can win with. And then, because when that's unsettled, then it's tough on your team. And so, but I like the way he played. And, you felt it on the sidelines. You felt, experience, just poise. Even in the timeout where we're going to try to draw them off sides, I gave him a hard time. Can your squeaky voice get these guys off sides? Like I just challenged him. I've never heard your hard count yet. Let's see. And then, so we did it. But it's a good group to work with. And I know the offensive coaches feel that way. I feel that way.
Pretty nice, pretty complimentary right there.
He went on to say something about he loves the fact that Zach is not afraid to be aggressive down the field. And he said, I love that. Like, I think he was almost trying to dispel the notion that anybody who throws the ball down the field in a Sean Payton offense is going to go to, wear the dunce cap and go to, detention.
Well, did you see what they were working on in one-on-ones today? It was
all downfield.
Arms away. Like, it was just,
and it was all Bo Nix. It was all Bo Nix at quarterback.
Yeah,
so I found that interesting, and it showed up in an 11-on-11 team period. Bo Nix, he uncorked a beautiful downfield throw. It was schemed up, it was open, but he threw the perfect throw. And I think even if there was coverage there, it would have given his receiver a great chance to make a play.
I have a special video for both you guys coming up in a second, but first we turn to the world of college football and not CU. Would you guys, if you were 20 years old, Vic, start with you, and this gets to Italian quarterbacks. At
least half.
Okay. Well, at least half, yeah, because it's a hyphenated.
Well, he's from Texas. He's not a true Italian. He's
actually a La Jolla kid originally.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah,
the family moved to Texas to play high school football
because of COVID.
Yes,
California shut it all down.
Yeah. Wow,
serious football guy.
We're talking about Braden Fowler Nicolosi. I don't know why the Fowler ruins the whole thing, but Nicolosi.
I mean, he's exactly what you guys are. He's an Irish and Italian. He's Fowler Nicolosi.
Hey, don't mix me in with the Italians
before you run this. I met this kid about a month ago. I played in this Weld Central High School charity golf tournament, and it's about an hour from here. And they invited a bunch of athletes, and I'm sitting at this table. My son was with me, and my son's talking to this kid, and I'm like, who's this kid he's talking to? And I start talking to him. I had no idea who the hell he was. And I'm like, man, this kid's pretty fun. He was really entertaining to listen. And come to find out, that's the CSU quarterback.
Nicolosi.
Just a good kid. I really like him. I like his personality more than anything.
All right, well, check this out. And let's see if you would make the same choice if you were 20 years old.
I didn't come here to make money. I came here to win games and play ball for the Rams. So I think if we play ball here, we do our job, we do what we're supposed to, we win championships, go to the playoff, shock the world, I think the money will come eventually. My job in college isn't to sit here and try to make as much money as I can. I know the new landscape is exciting for a lot of people. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but at the end of the day, I'm a 20-year-old kid with higher goals in life than to make money in college. And so as much of a blessing as that would be and set myself up for a long time, I think if I do my job here and we get it done and perform like how we know we're supposed to, I think there's several people on this team that will be taken care of for life after college.
He turned down $600,000 to leave CSU, guys, at age 20. $600,000. What do you think of that?
I have a couple thoughts on that. Number one, it's noble to hear him say that, but at the same time, you got to wonder, what are his financial means? Does he have a financial safety net? Does he come from a family? Does he come from a backing where he doesn't have to worry about money?
Some of these kids Torrey Pines?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, then you've answered the question.
Gotcha.
So money is not, it's not a problem, right?
They moved from California to Texas for football.
Kids, they get to the college experience, and sure, they want to play college football, and sure that they're here for the college life, and they're going to make money down the road. But they're going to see some money that they've never seen before that'll change their families' lives. So it's hard to ascertain whether or not he's in that situation. For him, the college experience means more than the financial windfall that comes with it. But that doesn't apply to everybody. That would be my answer.
Coach?
I just love it. It's like an old Beach Boys song. So be true to your school. He don't care about the money, man. He cares about the Rams. You know, and he does.
Awesome.
I mean, whether he comes from means or not, he turned down $600,000 that isn't that's not $600,000 that his parents are going to give him, right? It's a lot different when you go out and earn it yourself. And he was at least widely reported that was his market value.
Amazing.
You know, the other thing too, he's playing in a system that throws the ball a lot. Okay. He's familiar with the system. He's got some damn good receivers. He's got one receiver that I think will play in the league next year. So why would you let that all go? You've got a proven system that you can thrive in. And I think that alone will make you money. That will make you money more so than supposed money to go somewhere else and start over. There's some value there.
This young man's talented. He can spin the rock. Yeah, and he turned the ball over a lot early. You know, he wasn't even the day one starter. That was Millen. Millen was the day one starter a year ago. He came in, he kind of grew into the role. He got better as the year went on. And then, you know, I was at a game. The only game I saw him play live was against Boise State, my beloved Boise State Broncos, that squandered a massive lead over the course of 3.5 minutes and led to a Hail Mary throw and a whole bunch of theatrics there at Canvas Stadium. So yeah, he's got a really bright future.
I saw him play against CU. And I thought he was damn good in that game. Yep. Very, very good. He threw it in some tight windows in that game and made some really tough throws. And we know that game could have gone either way. And I was sold that night when I saw him, Coach. I said, wow, this kid, he's got a gun and he knows how to use it.
Preseason All-American list was listed, and it was Carson Beck first, and Dylan Elliott. Did I get that right?
Dylan Gabriel.
Gabriel. My bad. Yeah. Not Shadur Sanders. Did they blow that or did they get it right?
I think a lot of it's predicated on the previous year's record. And so Dylan Gabriel, this guy's been a hot commodity. He's the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. This is a young man from Hawaii, went to Central Florida, transferred to Oklahoma, and then must have gotten a pretty nice payday to go up to Oregon and play for Phil Knight University. This guy can play football. I think he's going to be maybe I'm not going to say it. I'm going to bite my tongue. I think quarterback play is going to be very good in Eugene, Oregon this year.
All right. Well, he was second. Carson Beck was first. Did they get it right leaving out Shadur? Vic?
Well, I think it's very subjective, obviously. And Shadur Sanders has to prove that he can win more games. I mean, he put up the numbers, but 4 wins does not a season make. So
a lot of hype for him to be a top pick, top 5 pick.
A lot of hype with all of the stuff that comes from Boulder. Hype doesn't equate to much. You know, hype is great. We all love hype. We all eat up hype. You got to win games, which is why I've said all along. I've said, hey, man, if CU has all this new talent and they brought in a ton in the portal and they talk about, do you believe CU can win at least 6 games and get to a bowl game? Do you believe that? I mean, if you can't get to a bowl game this year, in my estimation, Coach, this may sound sacrilege, but if you can't win 6 games and get to a bowl game, that's a terrible season. I know that sounds stupid. That's a terrible season in my book.
Well, in a lot of college programs, I mean, the one that you went to your school, I mean, Notre Dame, six wins get you fired. I mean, it gets you fired. Right. It's a reality, guys. I mean, there has not been a year that I've gone into the season been like, man, if we just get to 6, I'm like, I think if we end up 6-6, I'm getting fired either this year or next year, and that's a reality. I think 7 is the most reasonable. I said that on the program today on PhD. They got to win 7 because nobody's playing in that bowl game if they're 6-6, and then their final record's gonna be 6-7.
Well, it starts 2 weeks from tomorrow, man. The rubber meets the road, and we'll see how it goes. Plenty of time to talk about that. One last treat for you guys, and I know you'll appreciate this moment.
Long for Mihailovic. Got the delivery away, and it's going to find its way in, and it's Yappy, the substitute. Absolute scenes in front of the supporters. Now they have their game winner. Now they have 2 feet in the quarterfinals.
I wish there was something in my life that I loved enough when something good happens, I would take off my shirt no matter what I look like. I really do.
Coach, I know you've been to many games. I've been to a few Rapids games, and if you go sit in that section with the is it the C30
C38, Centennial 38.
You sit in that section. There are half-naked men with masks. And they're not afraid to pull their clothes off in the middle of the – and it's amazing watching them cheer on their team.
Vic, you know me well enough, right? Where do you think that I've sat or stood every single Rapids game I've been to?
Come on, no way, really?
Front and center, and every goal – my 7-year-old son, Griffin, pops the top, takes the shirt off, and stands on those railings and just goes nuts. And they get coated in beer flying, and they're like, yes, let's go. It's awesome, man. It is one of the best value sporting events to go to in all of Colorado.
And these Rapids are fun this year because they're never out of a game. It seems they're scoring these late goals, and they're just doing just enough to win, and it's so fun. It's a fun team, and it's been a fun season so far.
It doesn't stop. They play again on Saturday, and I don't know. Keep going, man. It's the quarterfinals, right? League's Cup. So keep going, I guess.
What's neat about this tournament is it's not just MLS playing an NBA in-season tournament with the same teams. They're actually playing against all the Liga MX teams in Mexico. So there are 8 teams remaining. That means that in North America, which is MLS, is Canada and United States of America, and then Liga MX. In North America, you could say your Rapids are a top 8 club, which is really cool to say.
That's really cool.
Can I make one final comment before we bid farewell here?
Sure.
I'm not used to conversing the wide range of sports with a football coach who has this kind of knowledge, because normally, DMac, you know how it works. When you speak to football coaches, they don't know what happens in the world around.
No.
They're so triggered on, targeted and focused on football. They don't know what day it is.
Nope.
They don't know what's going on. They have no idea. Is this an election year? Really? What? They have no idea. So
Dennis Allen doesn't know what a metaphor is.
There was a former Bronco coach that didn't know what Labor Day was. Didn't know what it was. That's a true story.
I've never observed it.
So the fact that we have a coach that actually has knowledge outside of the sport of football, I'm flabbergasted. I really am. Kudos to you, Mike.
Well, I appreciate it, Vic. And I think that very reason is why I don't have a job in coaching football.
And on that note, we'll bid you a fond farewell. We'll be back at training camp, and Vic will be. You're living there at camp, Vic. You got 2 more. Well, you took a little time off in the middle, but you got 2 more days out there, and then that's a wrap on training camp for the year. And it ends with a banger with Coach Sanford's boo, Jordan Love, coming to town. So look forward to it. So listen to Vic in the morning. Mike, are you on tomorrow with Chris? I don't even know.
I'm not on the air, so I will get a real in-person evaluation of practice without the obligation of talking into a microphone for 2
All
minutes.
right. And then me, Scott, and Tyler noon to 3, and it goes on with Nate and Andy after that. So we shall talk to you tomorrow from training camp. Thank you for watching Altitude Sports Radio 92.5's Broncos Training Camp Recap. See ya.